Welcome to For the Purpose Of, the podcast where we navigate the intersection of technology and the world of education. I'm Keith Tramper.
I'm Katherine Fredrickson.
And I'm Sarah Wood.
Welcome back, friends. We will be looking at a continuation of our AI series, and we're going to look at how we can get the most out of our AI today. We will be looking into some prompt engineering and our prepare and edit framework, different prompting strategies, and choosing the right tool. And we're also going to be looking at some amazing prompt libraries for teachers today.
So as we kick off our conversation here today, we want to start it off with our usual little intro question and kind of doing a little throwback, something that we haven't done in a little bit, where we talk about what we're into right now around AI. So Keith, would you mind kicking us off and sharing some of the things that you're going into around AI?
Yeah, of course. One of my favorite things, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, is the Neuron, which is a website and newsletter kind of thing about AI. And they just do a good job of making it funny and making it interesting and toning down some of the nerd language that's in there. We'll come back to that later, but the Neuron is one of my favorites right now. I got tuned into a podcast called the AI Breakdown that I'm finding to be really interesting too. This is more general about AI, but the May 11 episode was more aimed at education and how education is changing because of AI. So really interesting podcast. And then the last thing that I've been really into in AI is Tony Frontier, who's a newer name to me, but he's got some really great views on AI. I listened to him on a podcast called The Balance Podcast with Caitlin Tucker. And I just appreciate the angle that he looks at as AI can be used to help us become more efficient, but that's kind of shortchanging the power of AI, right? That AI should change the way we work and support our students in new ways and help us teach in new ways. So he has a new book out that I have ordered, and I'm looking forward to reading more about that. What about you, Katherine?
Very cool. I've been getting the most out of those everyday helpers, writing emails or just anything that's work related. I've been really getting the use out of some auto corrections and a little bit of the predictive text. I just want to keep that personal flair that I have of myself, but I've been using a lot of those and just trying to become more efficient with my time. Another big thing that I love is a fitness app I'm using. It pairs with the ring that I wear and it analyzes my health trends. And so it kind of sends out predictive information about where you would be if you get this much sleep or got this much exercise. And so I find it's really great for me to keeping on track. Also, who isn't, getting into the image and art generators? I love using those for my presentations and just kind of being creative. And actually, I'm going to get in a little bit later with one of the prompt libraries that focuses on generating some images, which is pretty neat. And lately, there's these Instagram reels I am just really intrigued by. They're kind of supernatural, kind of mystical, and like these mermaids and then these like dinosaurs, and they look so real. And just showing my husband and my kids, I'm like, look at these. These just like, these are incredible. So I don't know. I just kind of gotten sucked into those a little bit. And I thought, you know what, maybe we can create something like that or put something into motion. So I thought those are where I'm at right now. How about you, Sarah?
So I was thinking about this as I was preparing for this and kind of broke it up into 3 different categories. So I'll start with the most professional or informational version. One book I am really into right now, and it's like one of those ones that I'm having a hard time putting it down. But on the flip side, I'm also trying to take my time with that and really process what's in that. And that's the book Infinite Education, the 4-Step Strategy for Leading Change in the Age of Artificial Intelligence by Dan Fitzpatrick. It is amazing. Hands down, a must read. Like, I would put Cointelligence as a top book for educators to read, and this one is a number 2. I'm digging on it. There's so many things that just speak to me and so many applicable things, but yet it's also very thought provoking. So I'm really digging that.
Wow, that's some pretty high praise.
I know. Like, I'm about halfway through. This is the book that I'm reading while I'm waiting to pick up for the kids in the car line. So that forces me to put it down, but amazing. And I don't like highlighting in books. And I have been highlighting all over in this one. So I know like what to come back to. Like, so that says something right there if I'm highlighting in a book. But I've also been doing some more research around AI, data privacy and security, as well as policies for districts, because we've been doing a lot of work around this. And I always feel that you can never learn enough around this, and different perspectives only make what we're doing even better. And so I'm really trying to dig into that a little bit more and make sense of what others are doing, but also reflect on the work that we're doing. And then kind of moving into the application area, I've been doing a lot preparing for an upcoming professional learning offering that we have, our Pathways to AI course, where you go through online programs through tools such as School AI, Magic School, and go through their certification or badging programs. And then we give you sketch credits. But one thing I felt was important as part of building that course was to go through all those courses myself. So I have a much deeper knowledge of a lot of those tools that are out there, but it's also going through as many as we did. I think there was 20 some. That's a lot of information. So it's good. So official, unofficial plug for you to sign up for our Pathways for AI, which is running 3 cohorts in the 25-26 school year. Anyways, moving on to the last part, the trend that ridiculous zero purpose in this, but it makes me laugh every time. Are these AI generated babies? Like specifically the ones that are like babies singing Hamilton, or I've seen a lot of ones where they've taken characters from like the Big Bang Theory and made them as babies and they act out a scene. Like, it is ridiculous, zero purpose, but I watch all of them. All right, moving into our big topic for today, where we are going to kind of jump into the world of prompt engineering. And there are a lot of different frameworks that are out there, lots of different ways you can approach this. And I think one thing we're finding as a team is that this is constantly evolving in the AI world and how prompting works. And we're always learning and changing ourselves. But the framework that we share with educators when doing professional learning is the Prepare framework. And that has been created by Dan Fitzpatrick, which is also highlighted in his book that I talked about just a second ago. Must read. But when we share it with educators, we break it down where we're not focusing solely on the full prepare part, where each letter represents a different part of the prompting process, where we start with just the prep, where the PREP stands for a prompt, a role, explicit, and parameters. So when thinking through this prep part, we want to introduce what we want to know about, what we want to start a conversation about, usually a clear question. Give the AI that we're working with a role so that it knows what it's doing and understands the context of what you're working with. And then being explicit in the instructions that you're giving your AI so that this avoids any misunderstandings, which could still happen, but it definitely narrows in on things. And finally, kind of wrapping up with parameters, setting parameters within all the information you've given, such as tone of voice or the format of the output, so that it knows what it's giving you.
So an add-on to that prep is the ARE, the prepare part of it. And these are the additional steps. And so after you get your prompt, the ARE stands for ask, rate, and emotions. So first of all, you want to ask it some follow-up questions, like clarifying questions. Maybe you want to challenge their ideas and explore different perspectives and multiple perspectives. Then you want to rate it. Ask it to rate its response. And you might want to say, is this a quality answer? You know, using our critical thinking, like, is this quality? Is it clear enough? And just take the time to evaluate it. How could this be improved? And then we have the emotions part. How does this appeal to its emotions? Is there a tone? Is it friendly? Is it excited? Is it urgent? Does it pose some warmth or empathy? Or, is it an encouraging tone? So these are things that you want to refine as you think about your prompts that you're using. And then at the end, are you powered up? Take these three, you can add a twist, and then maybe ask it a follow-up question like, can you rate my response? I need it to sound upbeat or motivating. So these are just some little add-ons to help make the best prompt.
Yeah. And beyond that, it's prepare and then it's edit, right? So once you've gotten your outputs, this is where like that 80-20 rule that we always talk about comes into play. Edit stands for evaluate, determine, identify, and transform. So for evaluating, you're looking at that content and checking it for its language, making sure that the facts that it gives you are correct, looking at the structure of how it's built, just evaluating it to make sure that it is quality. The D for determine, you're looking at accuracy and making sure that those facts that it gives you are true. So corroborate those resources. I is for identifying biases and misinformation in the output. So taking the time to look through it for that. And then T is transform content. You're looking at it to see if you can find some adjustments and find new things within that output. So the prep part of this model is really something that is being called 1 or 0 shot prompting. That's when you just craft a really big prompt and you set it into your tool of choice, right? And because it has all the information in that one prompt, it generates an artifact for you. The other way to look at it, or to look at the ARE in prepare or edit, those are looking at, you take a look at your output and then you can go back in and prompt it again and continue to refine it. That's called multi-shot prompting. So one shot is kind of that giant prompt that you might give it. And then multi-shot is more, you're going to break it down piece by piece as you go. So one example I like to use is the 3-step prompt review. So say I wanted to summarize an article. Okay, I would put that article in and I would ask ChatGPT, if I was using that, to summarize it. And then after that, after it gave me the output, I would ask it to review its output and go back to the article and tell me how much fidelity it has to the original article. Like, did it cover all the concepts in that article or did it skip some things? And it will tell you it's missing these particular things. So then your next prompt could be rewrite the summary so that you have 100% fidelity. And I've used this a few times and it's fantastic, right? It summarizes it, makes sure that it doesn't leave out any important information. So just one example of that multi-shot prompting and sort of using that prepare and edit model.
Just hearing you talk through that, Keith, it makes me like reflect on kind of my prompting journey, my personal prompting journey. I think when AI kind of hit the scene and ChatGPT was more readily available to people, I think a lot of us started with um, that 0 or 1 shot prompting. Like we can put it out there, get something in return. And I feel so like more recently, I very rarely can do something with 0 shot prompting. It takes that multi-shot prompting. I think about the only thing that I can do with 1 shot is creating alt text, because that one gives me a pretty decent output that I can easily manipulate with my human element where I don't need to reprompt it. So you've just
Yeah.
got me thinking about that now.
Yeah, good point. It kind of comes back to you still need to be literate in all the different knowledges. So just making sure that you're using your human judgment is a really important part of the AI process.
And I feel too, Sarah, in addition to what you were saying, just refining and tweaking until you get the exact, and it might not be exact the first time, but that multi-shot, by asking it to refine and to identify areas that what it's missing, I think you're going to get the best output too. So I've also been finding myself doing the same thing, is just asking it to make things better and improve on the previous output. So it just gets better over time and it's continuing to improve. So
And that kind of also makes me think of one of the activities that we've done with educators in our AI for Educators cohorts and other activities that we've done in districts is our Power Up Your Prompt activity, which is actually something I borrowed from Carly Delo from Michigan Virtual, and kind of breaking down that prep model where if prompt engineering is something new to you or you've done very limited work around it, I feel that one-shot prompting is going to seem worlds better than anything that you have done before. So it's kind of like, "Oh my goodness, I can get this output with just one prompt." And that's really empowering in that alone as you're trying to build that AI literacy and fluency and trying to understand how those prompts look and what their outputs might give you. And one thing that has kind of come as a result of the learning that we've done with different districts is creating some prompt libraries around focused topics. So let's say you are an administrator and you really could use some AI assistance in doing things with better communicating with your staff. And so we have a prompt library sheet that gives a bunch of different prompts that use that prep model to create the prompts. And then you can literally grab that prompt, enter your own custom information around specific topics or other details, and then paste it into ChatGPT or Gemini to get results without you having to do that heavy lift on that, thinking about getting a fully developed prompt. And so it kind of lightens the load for educators, but it's not just those prompt libraries aren't just for like ChatGPT, Gemini, or Copilot or other models like that, but even the ones that you're using with Magic School or EduAid, we have prompts that go along with those or specific tools within those programs that really help kind of break down that process and make it a little bit easier for you.
That's a great segue, actually, because I have a few prompt libraries that I'd also like to share with you. And Kate, you asked me earlier about, oh, are you subscribed to the Neuron yet? And I'm like, no, but I am now because this is amazing stuff. And I actually went in there and I was just really lured in with their lingo that they use. And I just have to read this because it's just so great. It says, we are a team collecting the most mind-blowing, productivity boosting, and downright clever AI prompt tips from across the internet. Think of this as your secret weapon, a monthly cheat sheet that transforms you from an average AI user into a prompt engineering ninja. And I was like, yeah, I love that. I thought that was really cool. And so initially I was like, ooh, I need to read more, right? So anyway, I went in and I'm looking at all these libraries and they're just like little tips. It's like a little rundown day to day, and each day they add a tip, just how to use it in a fun or educational way. And so one thing that caught my attention was there's this AI editor, and it gives a prompt, and it says like, first ask AI to list the top 5 weaknesses in your draft, and then having it rewrite the piece addressing every single flaw. It's like having a snarky editor who moonlights as a ghostwriter, minus the coffee breath and passive aggressive sticky notes. I was like, I like this. This is great. There were some other ones that I thought were kind of interesting. Combining images to make one image in ChatGPT's image generator. So they had like a picture of a spoon and a fork, and then another image of a spaghetti. And then another one was a plate, and then a countertop, and then integrated all 4 images to make this one big image, like this main image. And I thought that was a really cool tool. So those are just some fun ones that the Neuron has out there, but you should check it out. They've got a tip every day, and I think they have many for the month of April, and then they just started getting those together for May. So some other prompt libraries, there's this AI for education, and this is kind of nice because it is set up into categories, and they have administration prompts, some that may include like coaching conversations, maybe some staff celebration strategies, and they are categorized so it's easy to find what you're looking for, whether you want something on assessment or communication. There is one on enhancing accessibility and coaching conversations under that one. There's a section for students, kind of like interviewing a literary character. It reminded me of the chatbots that we've talked about in the past, looking at analyzing and evaluating AI generated output, and a lot of other lesson planning and professional development too. Then the last library I wanted to discuss with you was the Skills 21 prompt library, and you can find that at skills21.org. These are a bunch of curriculum prompts that are already created, and you can use whatever LLM you want to. It's your choice. All you need to do is click the copy button and paste it, add a brief description of the activity, and the results. It'll give you some results, and you just have to go back and forth with the chatbot regarding some clarifications. So again, tweaking and prepping your prompt, as we discussed earlier. So again, it's got some of the same categories like lesson planning, rubrics, literacy planning. So I think the only differences between the Neuron, the chatbot for educators, and the Skills 21 is that the latter two, they're more organized, I guess, within categories, so they're easier to find. Whereas the Neuron, I found it very humorous, and it kind of put a spin on some fun, entertaining prompts. So those are my takeaways from those three.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that the one I mentioned earlier too, Catherine, is actually from the Neuron. That's where I learned that whole like take an article,
Oh,
look at the fidelity of it, and then rewrite it. That's where that came from. So yeah,
yep.
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I just wanted just to add on to this conversation, prompt libraries are awesome, but I learn a lot through seeing what other people do. Thinking about the different perspectives, we call it perspective bending in our workshops. But one example I have for you is like school AI, where teachers, one of the biggest uses of it anyways, is teachers can create their own chatbots for students to interact with. But what I love about it is I can go into anyone else's chatbots that they've made and I can remix them. So when you click that remix button, you see that one-shot prompt that they put in to create the chatbot. And I've learned so much. Even like Sarah created one for like introduction or an inclusion activity, right? And it was asking a bunch of questions to help them generate photos of themselves. And just seeing the way she prompted, I was able to kind of modify that and turn it into something even further. So I just love the nature of that tool. I also want to throw out there meta prompting. This was a newer term to me, but it's the idea that you ask an AI tool how to prompt it to get what you want, right? So I want you to generate a project-based lesson plan around a local history thing, right? So how would I ask you to build me that? And you can ask AI to do that and it will generate prompts for you. And then you can start that whole process, right? So it gives you sort of a leg up or a head start on getting what you want. So outside of that, I wanted to come back to the idea, Catherine, that you mentioned at the very beginning around selecting the right tools, because you might notice that some tools are better than others at certain things. So selecting the right tool is really important. So our team has done a bit of work around how to select the best AI tools. And it's not a whole lot different than the conversation about selecting the right ed tech tools. And so most of those same considerations apply. So the way we've broken this down is to think about 6 different things when you're looking at AI tools. The first is it safe and secure? And Sarah's done an awesome job of populating the data privacy and safety checks. So you can see which tools really have good terms of service and really protect your students' data. The next one is accessible, making sure that the tools are usable by lots of students and teachers. I like to look for things like I'm going to come back to School AI because they've got a really great tool where you can speak to the tool and it will do speech to text kind of naturally in the tool. And then it will speak back out to you, the output. So just some accessibility features in there. Then pedagogical alignment, making sure it's aligned to the learning goals you have. The curricular alignment, so making sure that it's tying into your curriculum and teaching what it's supposed to. And the last 2 are ease of use and compatibility, making sure that it's easy for people to learn how to use it and that it integrates with the other tools and systems you have in place in your district. So those are our 6 things that we tend to share with people about how to select the right tools, because that really does set you up for success or failure, right? If you're prompting the wrong tool to give you the thing you want, you might not get the best out of that. So it's a big part of the process.
We'll be back in a moment after a short commercial break.
Start with the prompt, say what you need. Clear and direct, make it succeed. Next is the role, who's talking here? A guide, a chef, make it clear. Be explicit and say it straight. No guessing games, just communicate. Set parameters, keep it tight. Length, tone, style, get it right. Prompt, role, explicit frame. That's how you win the AI game.
Are you eager to embrace AI in your teaching? Explore the possibilities at AI for Educators, a 2-day immersive workshop where you'll gain expert insights, practical strategies, and hands-on experience to confidently integrate AI into your educational practice. At AI for Educators, you'll engage with essential topics like AI literacy, AI ethics, and prompt engineering, while discovering how AI can boost your efficiency, enhance your instruction, and empower your learners. Seats are limited, so register today at bit.ly/AI4EDU3-REG. That's AIFOREDU, the number 3-REG.
Hey teachers! Interested in designing your best summer? Teaching is rewarding, but it can also be mentally, emotionally, and physically demanding. This summer, take time to prioritize yourself while engaging in the design thinking process to reimagine your own self-care and professional growth. Through this experience, you will create a personalized self-care blueprint that aligns with your values, needs, and lifestyle. Earn 10 sketches, all while rejuvenating for the new school year. Register today.
Before we get back to our program, we wanted to say thank you to our podcast PDX listeners. Today's question is, what is something we discussed today that is new to you or you're excited to try? Remember, the last day to submit your responses is May 30th, so make sure you get any responses in by then. And if you don't know what we're talking about and you want to get linked into our PDX community, head over to bit.ly/FTPO PDX. And don't worry, as long as the podcast is going, we will have Podcast PDX. This is just our yearly submission for sketches so that you can get your credit for listening. All right, now back to the show.
And welcome back. So let's dig into our digital mailbag. In our podcast PDX community, Susan wrote, "Using AI for inclusion and accessibility is exciting to me, having such a range of students in my classroom. Could you highlight some specific tools for ELL and neurodivergent students?" We also had a similarly aligned question in the podcast PDX community from Jaina, and she said, "I'm interested in furthering the discussion on technology and accessibility." And so we'd just like to take a moment to talk a little bit about these and share some resources.
So look no further. Here we go. Sarah, Catherine, and I have been digging a lot more into the accessibility side of things this year with the ADA Title II rule that's kind of coming down the pike. And we're learning about that and how to do more accessible things. So we do have, I know we've talked about this on the podcast before, but it's been a while. We'd have a accessible design quick sheet of some tips for making your materials more accessible. And we'll make sure that that gets linked in the show notes. And I just think this conversation around AI and accessibility is a really good thing because we've got some good tools. So, Catherine, you want to share the first one?
Yeah, the first one I wanted to share with our audience is Diffit. So Diffit has a lot of resources that creates differentiated learning material, and it's grade specific. You can pick whatever type of activity you want, whatever subject you want, and it will hit on all avenues of learning.
And languages too, right?
Yeah, language as well. Yes, there's different language options. It's a well-rounded resource that you can look at and dig into.
Another tool that I really like is that of Magic School. They have so many tools that they've built in, and I say tools, but it's really they've kind of built that wrapper around the prompt just so it makes it easier and you don't have to think about the prompt, kind of like what we were talking about earlier. But they have some of those prompts built in there for social stories, accommodation suggestions, providing clear directions for students, which can be super helpful. But a thing that I think is really neat around what Magic School does is that they have their Magic Student component in which teachers can set up specialized rooms, they call them, which are designated online places where students don't need to sign in to access that. But the teacher can load that room with specific tools from Magic School so that they're very targeted towards what a classroom of students might need. But you can even customize those for specific students. So you could create a room for Keith, you could create a room for Catherine, or create a room for Sarah. And one unique thing about those rooms, though, is you can also set the language output for some of those tools that are in there. So if you have students who need support in a different language to get them going as they're working towards getting into the target language, there's that option for them there.
And just going off of what Sarah said, School AI has been doing a lot of that same kind of work. It's been really interesting to see how Magic School and School AI have been sort of competing with each other over time, where I think Magic School started out with a lot of different tools for teachers. School AI was very focused on the teachers working with students angle of things, and they've sort of both kind of merged together, offering a lot of the best of both worlds. So it's been awesome to see that happen. But School AI, like I said earlier, has that whole speech to text and read aloud portion that's just built into what they do. And you can use it in much of the same ways that Sarah had just spoke about with Magic School.
And a tool that has been around for a while is that of Read and Write. And this is a Chrome extension that teachers and students can install within their Chrome browser. But one of the options that they have added, and I think it's still technically in beta, but you can still play around with it, is their AI component, which allows users to summarize and level text. And so, kind of going back to Keith's example of having a big article, that would be a great resource for students to use if they're viewing an article to kind of summarize and level that text if they just need to get a quick glance of understanding what it is, or if they just need to bring the text level down a little bit.
Another tool that I really enjoy using is Canva. And what's awesome about Canva is that they also have the accessibility tools like alt text and color contrast. And if you click on an image, it'll ask for the option of decorative text, or you can actually use the AI feature to tell you what you should write. So it's kind of a helpful way of using accessibility and making things accessible for all our learners. What do you think about this comment? Let us know. And don't forget to register to be a part of the podcast PDX community at bit.ly/FTPO PDX.
And that's it for this episode of For the Purpose Of. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this podcast, we'd love it if you'd share it with a friend.
Do you have a question? We'd love to hear it. Go to bit.ly/FTPO mail. You can reach out and find all things EdTech at bit.ly/IamEdTech. Catch you next time on For the Purpose Of.
This podcast is a service of Cat ISD, produced by Keith Tramper, Sarah Wood, and Katherine Fredrickson. Edited by Keith Tramper. Original jingle music by Katherine Fredrickson. Our theme music is Neon Nights by Scott Holmes Music, and our ad music is Vienna Beat by Blue Dot Sessions.
Rubber Baby. Well, how does that go?
Pardon me, rubber babies?
Rubber Baby Bumper something?
What? I literally
Yeah,
never
rubber
heard this.
baby buggy bumpers, right?
Rubber Baby Bumpy. Yeah.
Buggy. Rubber baby.
What are you talking about?
Rubber baby buggy bumpers. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. Rubber
Is
Baby
that right?
Bump.
Buggy bumpers.
What about Sally selling seashells down by the seashore?
Oh.
She sells.
She's a busy girl down at the beach.
Yes.
Let's leave her alone.
Why would you buy a seashell from her? There's probably 1,000 of them
I
on
know.
the seashore.
You could pick one up that's right on the ground next to her.
It's all about location. Come on, Sally.
Is she taking them places? Is she taking a little road show? Here, buy my seashells.